Hello again, VOTOMS fans. I got another one of these B2Five models, or toys. I guess it's a toy slash model because you can actually play with the thing. They're awesome. Anyways, this one is called the Snapping Turtle. And I've been watching the actual original VOTOMS cartoon show. And I guess early in the episodes, or maybe midway through the episodes, they're on a marshy planet. And the evil guy, Ypsilon, was fighting the main character. So this is the bad guy's robot, his first robot that I'm aware of. And so over here, mahq.net has a listing of all the different mecha from this cartoon, and this is saying it's a waterproofed heavy class trooper, weighs around 8.5 tons, and then let's see, developed by the Secret Society, high performance version of the Standing Turtle. Okay, yeah. So Melchia's Cuman jungle region was where all the battling occurred. So anyways, it's maybe not so important. If you just wanted to talk about toys, that's what we can do now. So we got Beaver Co here. It's a 2.5 inch or 1/28 scale is what the internet tells me that is. Sunrise actually owns the VOTOMS, I guess, cartoon series. Okay, it comes with a little figure. And then some of the features going on in there. I'm looking for a date. Yeah, I don't think there is one. It's weird that toys don't say when they were made. Yeah, alright, so this I got off of eBay, and apparently from this store here. I actually had to pay customs tax on this. And the problem with buying stuff from Japan is Japanese people don't lie about customs value. Yeah, so I pretty much have to pay the customs tax if it's over a certain amount. And I guess that's what you have to do. You're supposed to do legally. It's just that you kind of get used to the less than law-abiding people of mainland China. They just don't care about any of that stuff. They'll mark like $100 item as like $10. Oh, okay, so little characters' hands and stuff. And then there's a gun taped down here. Where'd that little knife go? It's already gone. Luckily I keep several knives around my little photo booth. So obviously it's well packaged. The blister keeps things from getting all scratched up. But it doesn't seem overly wasteful, the packaging, so that's good. And then these are individually wrapped because they don't want the plastic to rub against each other. Man. There's some fan art I pulled up here on the monitor. Sorry. Okay, jeez. Instructions. Pull this out so if you want, you can pause the video and decide if the features are cool, if it makes sense. So here we go. ATH-14-WPC is the model of this mech in the VOTOMS universe. This is the part number for I guess it's B2Five Wave 2 or B2Five VOTOMS Wave 2 number 2. So the waves are only 2 mechs, and I actually have the other one, the Marshy Dog. Alright, so pack goes on here, transform to landing mode. It's got some weird like foot plates or something maybe. Okay, a punch gimmick. I'll just keep that nearby if I have to refer back to it. Let's go with this weapon first. So there seems to be a handle here, and it's got a hexagon. So that just good friction fit. That's a nice tight fit. That's not going anywhere, but it can still come out. The magazine, I guess this must be the gun magazine. It's hollowed out on the backside. This is actually smart engineering. The plastic flowed in to this piece right here, but that piece has nothing to do with the outside appearance, which is what you want. So, I apologize, someone's renovating downstairs or something, or upstairs. There's some banging on the wall. Okay, so this thing, I think, does this come out? No? No, I thought this thing opened. Maybe it's the little active gears that do that. Okay, so there's some slots in the handle because the hands on the robot have a peg, so the gun doesn't just fall out easily. I do feel like these openings on the B2Five weapons are really under detailed, kind of plain. Like, why couldn't they make that recess deeper? I'm pretty sure this thing is supposed to shoot out rockets or some large caliber, things. I'm gonna have to pause because that banging noise is a little crazy. Oh, and now it stopped. Okay, I guess I just gotta say I'm gonna pause, and I don't. Backpack, you'll see there's a lot of black molded into the plastic, so that's pretty neat. It gives it like a weathered effect, but the model itself is actually clean. And then they use tampo printing here. There's no decals or anything like that, so that's what makes it such a nice toy. Decals will scratch off easily. Okay, this is an antenna. This is a bit, sketchy. If you drop this model, I'm sure that would break. It's not, I don't think that's a flexible plastic. I think that's a rigid plastic that just happens to flex. Alright, that snaps onto the back. Okay. Let's get into this character, Ypsilon. This is the main, bad guy in the VOTOMS universe. He's called a perfect soldier, and the main star of the show is Jericho QB. He's a perfect soldier, or even better. I guess he's supposed to be like a next god or something like that, but he doesn't know this at the beginning. Anyways, this guy fights him, and that's the extent of what I know. But I have to say, this is probably the best figure I've seen in the VOTOMS. Granted, this is only my third one, but it's better. I think it's better detailed than the Jericho one, which we can look at later. But this is like a blue thing floating. It's part of this chest piece. It goes into the belt area, and then these things move out to the side to allow better articulation. So the head itself, obviously, it's a peg. Nice detailed hair. It's very cool. And then for such a small figure, a lot of great articulation. There's ball peg here in the shoulder, and then it twists up here in the bicep, and then there's a hinge for the arm. And then the hand itself has a peg so it can swivel, and I guess this thing can hold Lego accessories, that particular diameter. And then down here in the hip, it's a peg again, but then the thigh will rotate, and then there's a hinge here in the leg. Okay. And then the foot has a ball peg as well, so a lot of good articulation is capable with this figure, for something that small at least. Very impressive. I just want the guy to sit inside the cockpit, really. And then he's got an alternate head, because when these guys hop into these robots in the cartoon, they wear like a gas mask, and these things hook in, I guess probably speak to the electronics of the robot or something. Maybe they're virtual reality goggles or something. So this one actually is less articulation because the helmet collides with the shoulders, goes forward and all, but yeah, not so good. So I'm gonna leave the normal human head on because you can see the guy better, and it's simply better articulation, so good. And then we got a bunch of alternate hands, so if you don't want him grabbing like the controls in the robot or like a Lego type gun, he has more realistic looking hands, like these fists. And then what else? There's two fists and there's two wavy hands, so let's just see how easy it is to replace. There's a wavy hand. Yeah, there's a nice positive snap right there, so that's nice. It's not going to fall out because there's a little indentation there. It's definitely a conscious decision that you have to make. You're not going to accidentally lose these hands, I don't think. This one's actually, maybe some paint was sticky. So let's pop this guy's fist in there. Now, sadly though, this is the opposite. This one is very loose. There's no positive click on this one. There's a miniature, a really small click. It's just not as strong as that side. So now he looks so much more realistic, right, with those hands. Very cool. Granted, he still has big holes in his there. Maybe that's part of the molding process or something. Sadly, the guy doesn't come with any weapons. No rifles or guns or anything like that. So that's too bad. Okay, let's get on to the main show. This snapping turtle here. You know what? I'm gonna readjust the camera. Alright, so the camera's been adjusted. So we got some really cool like optics. Yeah, they're not just paint. They're actually translucent red and green lenses, because you can actually see behind a little bit of depth back there, and they have some very minor molded details back there. So unfortunately, that's a lost opportunity. They could have easily molded in like a reticle or like some vertical lines. Different textures in all three would have been nice. Instead, there's kind of like a circle back there behind each one. But, you know, maybe like a swirly aperture, like a camera aperture. That would have been nice to have molded back there. Oh well. So this doesn't rotate like on the scope dogs. It can't. But at least it's got the clear lenses are nice. And there's some ribbing here on this lens. Okay. If anyone knows, like, what does each lens do? You know, is one night vision, maybe that one? Regular vision? Macro, micro? I don't know. Alright, let's go about the outside. So I believe these are two chest guns, like machine guns or something. They're very deep, so that's nice. I think if you add a little black paint wash in there, it'll look very nice. It's a little bit too unrealistic right now with the silver in there. Okay, so nice tampo printing here. I don't know if this is legible. The VOTOMS universe has their own like letters. Yeah, so there's like an alien character. You know, it's not gonna say in English what it is. So yeah, it's like this fake language, but that's fine. It's cool. The printing is nice. You can see there's a really mild texture on here. It's kind of like a pebbled texture, which helps dull the color or the gloss down. It's not super glossy, but it's definitely still shiny. Some matte spray paint might help that out. Okay, so this is nice recessed details here and here. Unfortunately, this one is not. It's just printed on the surface. So every now and then you got recesses, but every now and then you just got prints. This is a footstep. Yeah, a little bit of recess there. And that is silver or like a gunmetal color there. It would have been nice if that actually was hollow, maybe. You know, so the foot could go in further. It doesn't make sense to have a footstep that shallow. Okay, on the side we have a recess again. I don't know if these are windows on the real thing or not. Can't tell in that image I pulled up. Nice recesses, but no paint. Recessed, more alien language. You can see the black, you know, molded into the plastic. It's interesting how they do that. These are the only toys I've seen that actually co-mold swirly plastic in there. And a little red printing there with an arrow is kind of neat. Alright, let's go to this arm here. The shoulder pad is articulating, and there's a separate piece for this like hanging ring. These things get flown in on helicopters, and well, that's kind of interesting that this would fall off like that. I wonder why they would do that. Well, I know why they. Well, I'm just wondering why it isn't like glued in place. Maybe they have different ring options, or the future they're thinking of. Maybe like other robots have like a smoke discharger that might go in there later. Okay, some big rivet marks and stuff, and then let's see, we have the typical joint system for these things, so it can be removed and you can hear it click at a certain point. As I pull and twist, it's going to come out. There it is. So these are the B2Five joints. You can see the ratcheting inside there, and there's two tiny little pegs to get it into those slots there. So you can switch out these parts with other B2Five acid rain toys. So now I'm noticing there's an angle for the torso, and you can hear the ratcheting. So all this ratcheting is great because they really hold their poses well. So that's what makes them great toys. They can actually hold a pose, and they seem quite durable. Alright, so this is obviously a hinge, and the hinge is actually metal. There's a metal tube in there. So let me put this back on though. Okay. So the reason why this 2 hinges is you can actually have the arm up and close, but you can extend it out and get a lot of extra movement. But unfortunately, this piece, what's going on here? Why is that there? I understand why this part is here for the hinge, but why is this extra little stub here? It stops this from going down further. So that's weird. That's a strange decision. It doesn't happen on the scope dogs. I suppose you could just clip that off and then this thing will hide all this stuff better. But it's really strange. I'm not going to clip it off now. They probably did it for a good reason, but right now it just seems odd to me. I'm not sure what that bump is on the robot, but anyways, we have a rotary pivot, I guess. What would you call that? A rotary hinge? It's not a hinge. A swivel? Yeah. And then the nice printing here on the elbow area. And then we should have a double hinge. Yeah, 1, 2. So let's see how far we can get a bend. Most action figures go 90 at least, but this one will go... Oh, that's it. It collides with itself right there. But it did mention the arm punch thing. Let's see if I can pull this apart. Yeah. No, unfortunately that arm punch is not going to allow this to pivot more. So there it is. So this rectangle is supposed to like eject a cartridge, so that these robots can punch each other with cartridge actions, so they're really powerful like a cannon. But a little black paint's necessary in there to make it look a little more realistic. Okay, but very, very strong. You know, it doesn't feel too wobbly because there's a lot of plastic in there. Yeah, but unfortunately this double hinge, let me try it again. Oh, there we go, hold on. So I think just one side of the hinge was really tight. Definitely more than 90 now. But I wonder if I could get... Still wants to collide with itself. I almost feel like you could get that almost to go 180. But right here the blue is colliding. Still, pretty good bend for such a bulky robot. Okay. Nice positive snap on there. So this little armor plate is dangling. It's got some of that text on there. So that's cool. This is just a friction fit, but you don't want to take it on and off too often because the pegs will eventually wear down. So the hand itself, this is a feature on the VOTOMS robots. It hinges like this so the gun can pivot better and like be pressed against the shoulder. So it looks a little odd there, but like that, it's not too bad. Like that, not too bad. Okay, some little rivet marks again. This is a standard hand. It's on the scope dogs as well. So we got the index finger, and then these are one piece here. And then there's that tab that goes into the gun to keep the gun really, really tight in there. So really good design. Very smart. Alright, moving down. We got a hexagon here. Probably other B2Five things can snap into that. And then, yeah, it hinges. I think this front hinges. And then the back hinges. All these things hinge. And then some Sunrise copyright there. 2021, that's great. If you buy this 10 years down the road, you know how old this toy is. So that's nice. There's the backpack mounts. In fact, let's put that on. So there's going to be a positive click here. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Again, very strong. It's not gonna fall off very easily, right? That's a lot of weight that thing's holding. So very good. All right. Moving on. Lower. Well, yeah, we did rotate that. Why is there white up in there? I wonder. Oh, that's the hinge right there. Okay. Okay, so this leg. Let's start at the top. There's a big peg, and that peg rotates in the crotch. And then it's got a hinge on it for the thigh. the thigh has a rotary cut here, and then a bunch of nice rivets and stuff. And it cuts at an angle, so I think that helps with a lot of different posing, having an angled cut like that. I could be wrong, but anyways, obviously it looks a little unnatural like that, but with the armor plates down, you can hide a lot of that, I think. Okay, so now we got the knee, one section. I think it's a double knee, but no, maybe it's not. Oh. Seems to only be a pivot up in there, but not down there. So that's interesting. I think this leg might pull apart to convert. Oh, let's go further down. So the ankle here, it is on a hinge, and then on the end there's a peg with a ball. So that hinge, look how far out it comes. So you can get a lot of crazy inward rocker. Not much on the outside rocker though, because they have plastic here. Well, that's weird. You'd think they would have that a little lower, so the outside could bend more. Well, anyways, bending inwards is more important because that's more natural, like a human being. Most people's ankles don't really bend outwards as much as inwards. Am I right? I could be wrong. I'm not a orthopedist or what's a foot doctor? Yeah, it's an orthopedist, right? Okay. Anyways, forward movement. Look at that. That's insane. Forward movement. That's ridiculous. That's probably because it converts. Yeah, back movement, not so much. This is on the hinge too. A little bit of an ankle protector there. Minuscule, but it's there. It helps cover up that gap. So that's nice. And then I forget what these things are called, but they're supposed to allow it to work in swampy conditions or even underwater. I'm looking at this MAHQ. Does it say anything? Gliding wheel speed. These are called gliding wheels, probably this thing. Or swamp clog speed, 42 kilometers an hour. So somehow these clogs allow it to maybe skate over surfaces better than the feet. It's a cartoon. You can't expect reality. Anyways, so this swamp clog slides on these two bars, and there's decent enough friction that those bars are not, they're not going to be loose, at least right now. You could always put in some floor polish to tighten them up if they do get loose. So right now they just have a lot of good articulation. Very cool. Alright. So yeah, this wheel thing spins, and then you can see more of this black stuff. Alright, so this foot is screwed together. It does have holes here, pegs. I'm not sure why, unless they snap into the clogs. Oh, that's what it is. There's two pegs right there. Okay, so you pull that under the foot, and then somewhere along the way, you find those pins. And so now, I'm going to guess the intention by VOTOMS designers. This wheel, helps propel it along the ground really fast. So that's cool. But obviously it's going to be really cumbersome to walk around. So when it wants to walk, just a regular foot. When it wants to move really fast, there you go. Alright, so that's nice. This knee, yeah, that's a separate hinged knee. Does it go upwards? No, just pivots here. Alright. Let's get to let's do the cockpit. Alright, so this thing I think slides forward. Oh, maybe it hinges actually. First let's open the cockpit. There's a snap. Yeah, okay, so there's a toothed thing here. A little extra molding flash. I might have to trim that off later. Cockpit opens really wide. There's a hinge for that, and I think it could be metal. That hinge, I think there's a rod in there. Yeah, that's a metal rod, so that's nice. So nice under details here in the cockpit. Look at this. So you got the hand controls, and then a bunch of red and green looking instruments, and then let's see, I think that tab there holds the top part, so there it goes. So, yeah, this thing is out on a curved piece of plastic. So, yeah, I don't know why you'd want to do that, but you can. But I think it's supposed to be more like this, so the person can look around, be like, what's going on outside? Where's my pizza delivery guy? All right, so now a nice positive snap. I'm now noticing some bumps here, some rivet marks there. Back to the cockpit. So the seat's got a different paint tap there, and it's got some nice details on it. Some button details and this funky green color. It's not a metallic green, I don't think, just green. But we got sky blue here on the side, some gray back there. So nice details, and then the white of that hinge. And you can actually see the ratcheting mechanism for the torso as it does that spinning. Anyways, nice color contrast going on. A lot of cool stuff. Yeah. Alright, now let's get that character in here. So with the hand controls up on the roof, there's no real reason to use these Lego hands unless you literally want to pose them outside the thing with like a gun. Or I guess you can pose them inside the thing with a gun. But so for me, I'm just going to use the wavy hands because he just looks more realistic. Now let's get his feet up there. Bend the knees. Maybe the feet should point up like that. Trying to get him in a sitting position. Oh. So this I noticed on my Fianna figure as well. The thing would fall apart very easily. Yeah, so what happens is the thigh, the cut isn't wide enough, so this collides and then it pushes it off the peg. So it's a compromise, it doesn't look too gappy, but it doesn't bend very far. Hopefully it bends enough that it can actually sit in the thing and still not look too gappy. Boy, this thing is extremely loose. So I might have to take this in hot water and just squeeze it together to create a little more tension. But yeah, this is exceptionally loose there. Alright, let's see. World Ypsilon. Okay, well. Also, the torso bend here, that it doesn't bend back much, but it definitely bends further forward, just like a real human being does. Get his torso in. But I don't know. It's not easy. See, his head fell off, the leg fell off there. Piece him. I guess I'm gonna piece them together inside the robot. Alright, so that looks good there. I gotta get this leg on him somehow. Alright, so that leg went in okay. In fact, actually, there's a lot of leg room in this. The Scope Dogs, there isn't much leg room, so I was just trying to tighten him up as much as I can. But now, you see those side pouches are keeping his butt from resting. Or are they? Maybe he's resting. It's just, it doesn't look like there's much room for his head. Well, his head's on, but see, it's colliding with this thing. So, I feel like he has to sit further forward in order for the cockpit to actually... Well, it did close, but I don't think he's looking normal in there. Let's open it up and see what it looks like now. So he's definitely crouched forward and stuff. Yeah, so unfortunately, if they got rid of this gray plastic right here, it would create more leg room, and then he could sit further forward. So, let me pause and see if I can get him in a better position. Alright, I was able to get him in a decent position, and you can see his back isn't even touching the seat. I'm not sure why the seat is so far back there. But anyways, you can it seems to clear, and it'll actually look the same way after you open it up again. So yeah, it can be done. So anyways, that's pretty nice, the whole cockpit thing, and how detailed it is inside of there. Alright, this foot clog thing fell off somewhere along the way, and now we're seeing it has ball ends. So I'm just going to pull this out. Pop the clog on. Let's see if it snaps or not. No real snapping sound that I heard. Just... no, that's strange. It must snap in there. Oh, maybe not. Strange. Alright, well anyways, I'm gonna get those under the feet there. Alright, so nice stable platforms, which will help us posing out quite a bit. So this other side of the shoulder thing fell off. Yeah, that's very loose, those things. Yeah, and on this side again, this shoulder piece collides here. That's really strange. It only goes horizontal. Just thinking this through, it should, yeah, if I remove that bit of plastic, it should be able to go down. Should I cut my brand new toy? Oh, well here's the issue, I guess. Well, I don't know, maybe it won't be an issue. It'll just cut down, and then if I lift the shoulder up, it'll rest on the shoulder, right? It just, yeah. Alright, let's cut one off here. Let's get some relatively strong clippers. Okay, well, it definitely goes down. I didn't need to trim it all the way. You could, if I didn't trim it, darn it, I should have trimmed a little less so it would actually indent there and I could push past it. And now, you'll see, I think that looks better. Right, it's trying to hide that instead of this side. Right, it's just all exposed and gappy. This is a little bit of an improvement. Ideally it would hinge. No, it doesn't. If there was a hinge to push it forward and down, that might have been cool. Alright, well anyways, the damage is done. I might as well just do it on the other side, but I'm going to try to trim off less. But more than that. No, still too much. Darn it. Yeah, alright, well, it's always going to be drooping. But again, if I just lift the shoulder up, oh, well, yeah, that's fine. Alright, and at least from the front, there's no major gap. So if you're going to do that, trim it off a little bit at a time until you have that indent. So you always have the option to leave that horizontal, and then you can push down the past that ledge. But mine is done. Okay, I'm gonna have to probably use some school glue or silicone glue for that, because that's just way too loose. The index has to go on the inside. Alright, well, we got the hand now to pop in here. It looks like he's generally shooting with the right side. Open this hand up here, and then you can put this on both sides. It doesn't matter which hand. The slot is in the middle of the handle, so you can hold in the left hand or the right hand. So that should slide in here positively, hopefully. More. There we go. Nice. And close it up. The trigger finger never really goes into anything. It's just kind of out there. But yeah, there's just no way that can fall out because of that peg system. It's really smart. Alright, so now I'm going to twist his hand because I want to show this thing here. The reason why, again, is if you bend the elbow very far, get that elbow as tight as I can, you can still hold the gun and it doesn't collide too much with this shoulder, which is typically what happens. Alright, so you can have the gun pretty tight to him. And because of that arm extension, let's see if we can get both hands on this weapon. Get that extension out. This extension out. So sadly, it kind of collides with this armor here. But, you know, I guess they wanted it to look more realistic than functional. And then another reason why, if this thing goes like this, hold on here. Does this hand actually rotate on it independently? Yeah, it does. It's a little tight. I'm trying to grab that foregrip. So if I push this forearm inwards, then I push the hand outwards, in theory, I should be able to get a little bit of dual grippage on this weapon. Oh, it's running into that peg. The peg in this hand. I can't push it in further. So, yeah, there's no accommodation in this grip to actually fit this hand. That would have been smart if they had a slot in there to, oh well. Still, it's nice to see a big bulky robot like that be able to actually hold its weapon with two hands. Right? I mean, if you're going to have a foregrip on a gun, it's nice to be able to hold it. Alright, so that's very nice, very functional again. Even for, you know, we have to remember this is a deformed caricature. It's not like these images where it's a little more slender. This is super deformed. Well, it's not super deformed, but it's deformed. It looks squatter and fatter than tall and more like in the cartoon show. See, that thing fell off again. Alright, one last thing, I guess, is the conversion to let this thing go down and let the cockpit go in and out. So I'm gonna the legs, this thing, I'm just gonna like pull on it and do this, and eventually I think it'll actually open up. This knee thing. Something's happening. I don't know which way it's supposed to go. There we go. So there's a metal hinge there, and then obviously this plastic thing here. So that's a lot of extension, so now he's more like a basketball player. Let me get the other one. Let's see what it looks like actually with both of these out. So yeah, I'm pulling and just moving it back and forth. Somehow I gotta get one of these links. I think I have to push it this way. There we go, that was... okay. So this is obviously not realistic, he's all spindly. But he's very tall now. It's actually more proportionate to the cartoon, I would say. This kind of height. Alright, anyways, so I now gotta rotate this back all the way. You'll see there's a cutout here to clear this armor plate, so that's really well designed. So those two things are jammed up as much as possible. Then the Interesting, yeah, this knee plate actually goes into that recess. So angle that down. And also there's like a landing gear here in the crotch. It should be, yep, there it is. Pretty tall one. I don't know if it's supposed to actually go down with these foot plates in place. Let me see here. The instructions. Yeah, it is supposed to be able to do it. Okay. Oh, I see. This whole ankle thing has to come out, I think. Alright, well, no, that looks a little weird. I'm just trying to get it. It definitely looks a little odd. See this thing. This thing almost fell off. Okay, I think it's supposed to look like this. It looks a little more natural. He's back here. Alright, so now. Alright, so. Well. His head fell off. So he's supposed to be able to hop in and out of the thing now. He steps on that thing and gets in and out of this thing. So that's the reason why it has landing mode or conversion mode, kind of like a transformer. So you'll notice these peg things. These things are on ball pegs also, on balls as well. That one snapped in with a positive sound. Alright, so that's cool. Oh, yeah, never mind. So, I don't know, I guess I'll just leave his extra hands and stuff in the cockpit so I don't lose him. At least right now. Close this up. Let me see if I can get a nicer pose. Okay, well, I decided to go with this piece of art. That pose there, you can clearly see, you know, the legs are so short, like these little clogs are colliding with the armor there. So, yeah, it's the best you can do with a deformed thing. But for something so deformed, there actually is a lot of articulation options. So I'm quite happy about that. Here's the other wave figure. This is the Marshy dog, and it does have Chiriko Kiwi, the star of the cartoon series. I've weathered this quite a bit, though, a bunch of Tamiya black and brown paint washes, because they were on a swampy island, or swampy planet, so I'll probably have to maybe add some, you know, washes to this, make it look dirty and stuff, as if it was running around in the mud. Okay. Alright, so, yeah, this Chiriko is so far the best figure I have that actually articulates as far as without falling apart. But I think appearance-wise, I definitely like the appearance of this one more. Sorry, that's problematic there. This Ypsilon, he seems to have a better head sculpt. But oddly, they're from the same wave. They're from the same time frame of release show. But I don't know. That's what happened. Okay, well, that's what we have today. Let me get this guy spinning up on its own. So another fine action figure by B2Five. Compared to the Scope Dogs, though, the design of this robot, this mecha in VOTOMS, it just doesn't lend itself as well to being dynamic in its posing because the armor collides with itself too often. As I mentioned, those foot clogs. So the foot clogs below the feet makes more sense, so they don't run into the torso plates. But as you can see, the joint system from this B2Five, I mean, this thing will hold that pose for months or years, right? It's not going to fall down. So that's why I really like these things. If you actually literally want to play with your figures, right now these are my favorite ones. I don't know of another figure that simply instills this much confidence without you thinking you're going to break it. Now, it kind of goes a little bit the opposite for the tiny little guy inside of there, but yeah, I mean, the thing's only 2.5 inches tall, so you can't really ask that much of it. You might actually ask how tall this thing is. It's over 6 inches. It's or 15 centimeters. Sorry, I didn't bother to measure that earlier. I just don't care anymore. Okay, well, anyways, I do have 2 other videos on the Marshy dog and also the Brutish dog, and I've actually gone ahead and ordered the first scope dog. So eventually I'll have all 4 releases from B2Five, because again, I'm just so happy with the articulation, not in its ability, but the ability to hold its pose. The engineering of this toy, not the collision of the armor, but that's because VOTOMS, that's the design of VOTOMS, this particular one. But again, the scope dogs are much better. In particular, the Brutish dog seems to have the most ability to pose so far. This Marshy dog, unfortunately, because it has these tanks, you can remove the tanks, but then it doesn't look like a Marshy dog so much. So these things get in the way of articulation. And also these hoses also restrict the leg from posing further forward. You know, this thing gets pulled, stretched too much. So that's why right now is the best one I have to get funky poses out of. But I have a feeling the scope dog, the regular scope dog, when that comes in, maybe that'll beat it, because it actually has 2 hands. Thanks for watching today. I'll see you when that next VOTOMS comes in. Bye now.